What's up everybody, this is Alan from OC Nerf, and today we are going to be taking a look at a modification guide for the Nerf Sharpfire. So I picked up two of these Sharpfires. This is one of them. The other one is still in one of my bins from Goodwill. Neither of them had the stock, but they both did have the front barrel attachment, which is awesome. It's pretty much one of the reasons why I'm not interested in the Delta, the Sharpfire Delta, is because it doesn't have this front barrel, which I need for the modification, which, as you can see here, is a full brass breech. So you can look inside here. You can see the brass breech in there with the lip, and then if you flip it on the other side, you can see that brass barrel right there. So this is taking advantage of the breeching system of the Sharpfire, and without any further ado, I'm going to go ahead and take us right into the modification guide so I can show you the sort of kit that I've put together for it, which is 3 parts: the barrel, the breech, and the dead space reducer, and how I put it all together, and what else I did to this Sharpfire to kind of modify it. Afterwards, we're going to go ahead and do some chronograph testing, some accuracy testing, and then we'll come back to this spot and talk about it, and that should wrap things up. Alright guys, let's take a look at the mod. Okay, we're going to go ahead and take a look at this Sharpfire, sort of Sharpfire in the sense that it's already been partially modified. I kind of put some pieces back together, but it does still function. It doesn't have all the screws in place, so I'm going to hold that. And just like a normal Sharpfire, kind of stick this in there, close the breech, pull the trigger, and fire. And there it goes. Rather weak, but that's what it is. Now we're going to take this and we're going to put something that I put together in it. I know there's a lot of YouTubers that have already put up some guides for this stuff, but I'm going to be brass breeching this, and what I'm going to be using is things that I've already pre-cut. So it comes with this, this, and this. So we're going to take a look at those pieces in more detail. This is the main barrel, 9/16 brass, taped off already. This part goes in the front, this part goes in the back. And as you can see here, it's a nicely polished brass, so this is already been cleaned up on the inside. Be sure not to just take your brass that you get from the store and just stick it in there. Make sure to get some Brasso. Brasso works really nice here, and you kind of just clean out the inside, clean out the outside, not necessarily to this, but more of this. So you're cleaning out the inside here of the brass, making sure to do that. Cleaning out the outside, and now here is the breech part with a lip. You can see here, I don't know if you can actually see everything, but let me go ahead and see if I can get another light on here. Okay, let's see if you can see this better. But what you might notice here is it's got a filigreed edge. And that's to help it feed into the 9/16 very, very smoothly. So, there we go. So we'll just be able to fit in there. It's a nice snug fit, and it pulls right on out. Snug fit, pulls out. There we go. So this is the piece that's going to go into this part of the Sharpfire, and this is going to go into the barrel, and it's going to feed in nice and easily there. This, you might be wondering what this is. This is a little bit, about an inch's worth of copper, of 1/4 inch copper. Let's see. There we go. An inch's worth of 1/4 inch copper wrapped in E-tape to a very specific outer diameter that will sit into the back just like this and act as a dead space filler for the area inside the Sharpfire. So what we're going to go ahead and do is I'm going to go ahead and pop this open. There's only a couple of screws left, and I will then be installing these pieces that I've cut out. Yeah, there we go. I'm going to be installing the pieces that we cut out here. So I've got some fix-all adhesive, just basic super glue, and I've got my hot glue gun and the pieces. So we're going to go ahead and pop this open. Now I picked this Sharpfire up from Goodwill, so it was a good candidate for an upgrade. Excuse me. Okay, so we're going to take that, set it aside. This is the original spring that it came with. What I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be replacing this with a 5/8 spring, about, 5 inches or so, 5/8 outer diameter spring from Ace, which is a little bit longer than this one, but it does fit in there just fine. And also doubling it up with this spring from, I feel like it's an Elite blaster of some kind, I don't know. It's an unmarked spring in my bin, but I'm going to go ahead and double it up just like this, and that's what I'm going to use for the power source. And I'm going to put this in my bin and see what I can use this for next time. Alright, let's pop this open. I think I don't have anything screwed. Ah, yes, this comes off. This front piece comes off. And now we can pop this open and take a look inside. It sort of looks stock, but it's not. I've already taken out several pieces and I've already done a few things in here. So number one, I'm going to take this out. I lost the spring because that spring is just going to pop out on you as soon as you open this blaster. I don't actually have the stock piece, so I don't really need this, but I do want to keep it in there just in case. Now, all this orange stuff here, I'm going to lift it up. All of this orange bits here. This also had a spring, but it popped out, and this had a spring down here, but it popped out. All that stuff needs to go, so you just kind of go ahead and pull it out and grab it. Now, you might be wondering what all this stuff is for. Now, there used to be a little sensor right here that would trip as soon as you do that. Once that tripped, there would be another actuation here that would tell you one thing or another, whether you could fire it. These ridges right here are kind of little teeth, and this passes through the teeth, so it kind of gives it a locking mechanism so that as you're pulling it back, it will prevent it from going forward unless this is depressed, then that's depressed, and this trigger bar, which I've cut, and I'll talk about that later, won't allow you to pull the trigger. So these are all the locks that prevent this thing from slamming forward in the event that the trigger gets pulled. So the trigger can't be pulled, so this can't come forward. And while this hasn't even gotten to the catch, there's already little mini catching systems here on these teeth that allow it to kind of ratchet back as you're pulling the slide. But again, you don't need any of these pieces and any other pieces that you might see in yours that are no longer in mine. So you just take these pieces out. Let's do this one first. There. And there. So you should have a nice, clean front end here. Nothing here. You don't need anything here. Okay, now we're going to go ahead and depress this and take this out and put this whole assembly to the side. And I've got my catch here. Now what I like to do with catch springs is, because I don't want to lose them, I do put a little dab of hot glue so that this won't fly off. It'll still compress because this part is the only part that's stuck, but it won't fly off on you. I didn't do that for here because as soon as I opened it, it popped off, and I couldn't find it. Now, this is going to be interesting. There's a number of things I did to this trigger that, to be honest, are not 100% necessary for the function of this modification, but it does streamline the capabilities of this blaster and give it a better chance of improved performance in what spring loads you can put in there. So this lever right here goes with the spring, goes with the trigger normally. When it pulls, it stops on that little screw port right there. So it doesn't allow a complete trigger pull. Do you see that? So it stops there, so it doesn't allow a complete trigger pull. So the trigger is important because that's where the catch is going to come into play. So when we're here, and we've got this little guy right here, and we pull the trigger, we can only depress the catch just a fraction, which is just enough for the normal spring load to be able to overcome that catch and slam the plunger head forward. But with higher spring loads, there's going to be a lot of pressure on this part right here that will need to be addressed. So you're going to have really hard time depriming this, getting this trigger to release, this trigger catch to release, because this arm right here is going to be in the way of getting it to go further. So when you remove this piece, you can now go from here to here. Do you notice how much of a difference that makes? Do you see that? So whereas before we could only go to about here, now we can go all the way down to here, which means this trigger catch will be able to clear the entire plunger tube rather than just enough for the plunger head to go through. Again, that'll be really, really important when it comes to higher spring loads. The other thing that I did to this trigger is I kind of ground down this edge right here so that when it gets pulled, it doesn't catch the bottom of this plastic. There was a lot of creaking when I was first doing the testing for this kit and this modification, and I looked for places where I could cut things down and make it smoother, so that was one of the places there. The other place is right here, if you can see that grinding down that I did there, and on the other side as well, right there. And the reason for that is because it'll give it better clearance here in the trigger area. So that, there we go. When we flip this over, you can kind of see right there how much more clearance we have, and it doesn't catch on any of the plastic. So now it's a very, very smooth operation. So that's what I did there. Let's go ahead and push this out, and out comes the plunger head with a little bit of crap on it. Oh, it's just there. So this is the plunger head, and then I already put a little bit of Teflon, I think. No, I haven't yet. I don't think I needed it, perhaps. But usually I'll put a little bit of Teflon underneath the O-ring, but I think it was actually doing just fine. I think it was the other piece in here that I needed to put Teflon tape under. So the way this works is there's little teeth here and rails, so you just want to make sure to align those correctly. And then this pushes through and out. And yes, this is where I put my Teflon tape, because this didn't have a solid seal. What you'll also notice is the air restrictor is completely blown out here already. There used to be a back plate here with 3 little vents, and then the air restrictor about, I'd say 1.25 inches down in there. So I've gone ahead and drilled through that, cut it out, drilled through it, sanded down the sides, so we have a nice clean bore all the way through. Fortunately, there's not enough room here to really get your dart through. Not that you'd really want to shove your dart that far in anyway, that takes even more time. So there's just a lot of dead space here, and that's where this little guy comes into play. This is your dead space remover. So it now takes this entire bore and shrinks it down to about 1/4 inch in diameter, and this is already sized to fit in there, and you just kind of plop it in. And there's that. Now the next thing obviously to do is kind of seal up the sides there, and we'll be doing that with some hot glue. This is already pre-sized as well, that it will slide all the way in and just past that hole right there, that air release hole. I'm still going to go ahead and fill that hole up with a little bit of glue, but it does cover that hole pretty well, and it goes in about that far. So you can see where the hole is, and this goes in about that far. Make sure to get this in the light. There we go. And so the dart actually will go right in here and shove in, about there. So it actually exceeds it by just a smidge, and it goes in just like that, right down into the breech area here. Okay, and this is why we've got this dead space removal area with that little tool. And then we'll have this dart come out. There we go. And then I'm going to go ahead and put a little bit of glue here too. I'm going to go ahead and sand this up first to give it something to adhere to. But it's necessary for the glue to adhere. There. Nice and roughed up. And we'll be able to stick it down in there. I've got my adhesive, and we're going to start putting stuff together. Okay, so it doesn't need a whole lot, just a little around the lip. That's all it needs. And then we carefully, and make sure we don't do this the wrong way, slip it right into there. Make sure again the lip is on the side with the teeth. There we go. We want to see the brass go through that hole. Okay, we're going to push it as far as we can with our human hands. And then we will use the edge of a table to push it in further. Carefully. There we go. Make sure the alignment is correct first. Okay, so it's in there, and the glue has had a chance to, oh, forgot to do that part. We'll make sure not to get it on the rails. Just a very small dab of glue. Just a very small dab. I'm going to use one of these broken pieces that I don't need. And make sure to cover up that hole. Should have done that already too. There we go. So, just a little bit to cover up that hole. This is already down in place, and it will lock in just like that. So that little bit that sticks out from the plastic breech is what's going to create the seal for this piece. Just like that. Now, some people have gone ahead and sanded the inside of the plastic breech, inside of the plastic breech, in order to have the 9/16 go into the plastic breech, but I am choosing not to do that, specifically because I want to keep this plastic breech strong. I don't want to thin out the inner diameter any more than it already is, because this will be taking a lot of pressure. I don't want to weaken this plastic at all. So there's that. Now we're going to go ahead and do the dead space in the back. Take this. We'll put, again, a little bit around the bottom there. And we'll take this and shove it right down in there until it's nice and flush in the back. Perfect. There. So now it's nice and flush, as you can see there. I'm going to go and put it down just in case. There we go. It all looks nice and dandy right through the middle. So we've got a nice small hole in the back through right here. And I've got my hot glue gun. Should be ready to go by now. Yep. And we're going to slowly just start to fill it. Good. And a little bit of moisture. Flatten out that hot glue. Excellent. So now this is ready to go. I'm going to let that kind of cool off and dry up all the glue. And that should be it. Okay, I'm going to put that aside. Okay, so that's ready and waiting. Now we have this piece. Okay. Now this is my front, this is my back. This is a little bit thicker than this, and we're going to go starting from the front to the back. And it's going to get pretty easy, and then it gets really difficult all the way through. And I'm going to push it as flush as I can, and then I'm going to show you how to adjust it in a second. Okay, so I figured out the issue. And this was a little bit off to the left for whatever reason. It's probably due to the plastic, so this wasn't actually being able to slide in as smoothly as I wanted it to, but now it does with a little bit of lock. And the way I achieved that, so if I take that out, take this out, is I added another thin layer of tape right here, which aligns with the inner diameter of this so that this is a little bit more centered. Now that I've got that in place, what I'm going to go ahead and do is I'm going to glue this up. And so again, we're going to take this, stick it down the front of the barrel all the way through. Take this, there we go, locking it into place. Take this, and then we're just making sure that locks in all the way without it. Good. Awesome. So everything fits perfectly there. I'm not going to glue this part, because what I ended up doing here is I took one layer less on this, and now it fits in just fine. I went ahead and glued the barrel into place, and made sure to test fit it to make sure that it is indeed at the right distance, at the right setting. Good. So it's nice and tight. Nice. Okay. The next thing I'm going to go ahead and do is I'm going to go ahead and drill out a hole back here. Now the reason for that is because as this is moving forward, it is creating a perfect air seal, pushing air out forward. But what it's also doing is creating a vacuum back here. So there's already 4 holes here, and I'm going to add a 5th one right in the middle. And I'm picking this up from Mr. Chris Cartaya, who did that to his blaster as well, and I thought that was actually a really neat idea. So I'm going to go ahead and grab some tools and pop that open. Alright, so we've got that air hole drilled out here. That was a pretty simple process. Yeah, so that should give it a little bit of less of a vacuum in the back to get the plunger head to go faster. Okay, I think this is pretty close to being done here, guys. The next thing I'm going to go ahead and do is, let's see here, I'm going to go ahead and lube everything up and put everything back into place. Go ahead and put a fresh tube of that into the plunger tube. And spread that around. There we go. Nice and lubed up on the inside. And we're going to do this first. Go ahead and put a layer of lube here. Good. Okay, and then we'll put this inside. This hook goes on the bottom, and these teeth go on the bottom, so we'll put it in that way. We'll catch it on the other side. Make sure to get it through, and then, there we go. It's all lubed up. Now the next thing is the plunger head. Right there. Oh, right, I was gonna clear out the dead space in this thing. That's what I forgot to do. That's why I smell hot glue. A little less dead space. Alright. Unplug this. There we go. Dead space removed. There. And we will put this back all the way in. Okay. Now we can put everything back. There's a hole here and a hole here. The catch goes in there. Might want to do the catch after, but we'll see. Actually, that is probably the best way to do it. Is without the catch, aligning all the holes there, just like that, and then adding in your catch after. There. Springs down. Good. Everything works. Okay. Now we are going to put it all back together. Okay, we've got it all put back together. This is the modified Sharpfire with brass barrel. Here's that air hole in the back, and we're going to go ahead and open this up. It's got the double spring from Ace and some other Nerf spring, and here's that lip. There's the brass breech, and there's the barrel in the front. We're going to go and use this little Stefan length dart, stick it in there, and we're going to close this up. I'm going to fire it down this way. Bounce right back. So good. Fires just fine. It's kind of the finicky thing about brass. You do have to get, you have to make sure that the brass that you want, and in my case I'm using a 9/16 barrel, is going to be really good for the dart that you want to use. So that is very, very important when doing a brass breech or any kind of brass work. Put that right there. See, it's in just fine. Fires. Let's go ahead and do some chronograph. Okay, so for this accuracy test, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be aiming for that water bottle that is on top of, where is it? There we go. On top of the chair right there. So we're going to be aiming for that. And we're going to be doing it from 10 feet away. There will be no cuts to this video. I'm going to be using 3 darts, 3 different kinds of darts. So I've got this glue dome and 2 cut down Elites. So we're going to see if I can do it in 3 shots. Again, there's going to be no cuts on this. This is going to be the first one that I put in there, which is the glue dome. I'm going to go ahead and aim for that now. Here we go. First shot. It's hard to see. There we go. A little bit off to the right. So now I'm going to go ahead and do the second shot, which is one of the Stefan Elites. Again, no cuts to this. We're just going to see if we can do it in 3. I'll take my time. Oh, misfire. Not sure what happened there. Oh. Sometimes the Elites kind of fold in the, at least the worn out Elites kind of fold in the barrel funny. So let's try that one again. So that was a misfire. Hopefully we won't get 2 misfires here. Yep, we got another misfire. Damn. What's going on here? See if I can clear this out. Yep, we got a folded Elite. Oh. Hold on here. Let's see if we can't get this out. Okay, we got it out. So now we've just got the one left. Let's see if we can do it with this one. That one must have been pretty worn for it to fold in the barrel like that under the pressure. So let's see if we can't do it in this one. Yep, there we go. 2 shots. First one missed. Second one had 2 misfires. Third shot, all down. There we go for the accuracy test. Okay, so that's the modification guide for my my version of the Nerf Sharpfire, and I'm really pleased with it. Actually, it turned out really well. This is definitely one of my favorite pistols right now. Not just because of the power, but because of the accuracy. I did the accuracy test a little differently, specifically because I really like the accuracy on this blaster. That sight is pretty much dead on with the right kind of darts. This is pretty dead on. I made this video and I put this together in this Sharpfire kind of as a 3-part kit, 4-part actually if you include the spring. So I am intending to either sell it as a Sharpfire like this, all put together just the way you saw it on the video, if anybody's interested in a modified Sharpfire, or I am intending to possibly just sell it as the kit, so just the kind of 4 parts. So the barrel in there, that's all taped up and ready to go as well. The breech itself, which you can see in there, all sized and ground down correctly. But you can't see the dead space, the dead space reducer in the back, and then the springs. Also, I'm going to be doing that. The other thing that was not in the modification video, I used a Ace hardware spring. That was pretty beefy, but I found another one that I wanted to use. I had a different project in mind for it. But here's another Ace spring, a rather longer, thicker one that is really beefy. This is, I feel like, almost 60% tougher than the one that I've got in there. So it's definitely significant. I'm thinking of cutting down a piece of this and using that instead of the current spring load that's in there right now. If that works out even better, great. I'll put that in the kit instead. The prime is pretty tough right now for, I think, your child nerfer, but for an adult nerfer, it should be fine. You shouldn't have any problems with it. So if you are a child looking for a modification like this, I probably wouldn't recommend using this spring. I'd probably go with just a simple either spring edition and the stock spring, or just the one Ace hardware spring in here. If you are interested in it and you want to order one from me as a kit or as a blaster, let me know, and we can kind of make sure you get the right kind of spring to be able to still use this for yourself. As I mentioned, I am intending to do this as a kit, so I'm working on a second one right now. This is a shorter barrel, and this is the starting work of getting that breech. I will have to cut this down, make it nice and rounded at the edges there. But yes, I am starting another kit as we speak. So this is all that's coming together. So I really like this blaster. I think this modification worked really well for the Sharpfire. I was very pleasantly surprised with a blaster that I didn't give much thought or credence to before. And I do have to thank a couple of people in that regards. I have to thank Walcom for doing a breech modification. I think his was the first one I saw of a breech modification for this. He was sick in that video, but he had made it, and I thought how simple that was, but I wasn't yet sold on it. And then recently I saw Chris Cartaya's video about some of the work he's been doing on this Sharpfire with a Mauser fire, and I thought that was really cool, so you should check out his video. I'll probably link to it in the ending here. But those two guys did an awesome job with the Sharpfire. I really do want to give special credit to that Mauser fire that Chris has put together. I hope you guys check it out. I don't have a magazine to do the same thing with, but perhaps in the future I will, and I will make one for myself. He does his breeches a little bit differently. Walcom does his a little bit differently than mine. So I hope you go check out theirs as well to see which one you think works best for you, since all three of ours are a little bit different. And that being said, I hope you guys have a really great rest of your day. Please like, comment, and subscribe. And if you do find this video really helpful, please share it. Have a good day, everybody, and Nerf fun.